We all know what i'tikaf is. It means to stay in the masjid for an extended period of time. I'tikaf is something that can be performed throughout the year. It's not specific to Ramadan. So anytime in the year someone wants to stay in the masjid for an extended period of time, then they're allowed to do that, and it is reward. But it is better in Ramadan, obviously because of the extra reward given during Ramadan. And on top of that, the Prophet ﷺ would do i'tikaf more during Ramadan, especially during the last 10 days. And this is something we're accustomed to. During the last 10 days, the masajid tend to open their doors for i'tikaf, and there's a lot of people who participate in that. And there are 3 conditions in order to perform i'tikaf. Number 1, the intention, as any other act of worship. It's conditional to intention, meaning you are staying in the masjid for the sake of i'tikaf, for that act of worship. And number 2, you're doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second condition is to not be in a state of major impurity. Okay, if you remember what major impurity is. So for example, a woman who is in her menstruation cycle, then she is not allowed to do i'tikaf because of the verse which prohibits someone in that state from staying in the masjid for an extended period of time. Likewise, a man, if he, after a relationship with his wife, did not perform ghusl, they cannot stay in the masjid, they need to perform ghusl before that. So that's the second condition, is the tahara min al-hadath al-akbar, to be purified from any major impurities. And the third condition is that the masjid which you plan to stay in is a masjid that has the 5 prayers going. Okay? Some of them have sajid, or what they're called musalla. It's not just kind of people are going by. If it's a business district, you find that maybe Aisha and Maghrib prayer, there is no one, even for Fajr prayer. It's mainly Dhuhr and Asr. Or you could find musalla, but there's no Jum'ah that happens there. So the third condition is that the masjid which you plan on doing i'tikaf in is a masjid which the 5 prayers are held normally. It is not a condition to fast if you plan on doing i'tikaf during the morning hours. Okay, there is an opinion out there that if you want to do i'tikaf, for example, from after Fajr to Maghrib, that you have to be fasting. That's not a condition. You can do it whether you're fasting or not, whether it's in Ramadan or not. I'tikaf is a sunnah, and it's mu'akkada in the last 10 days. It's actually rewarded in the last 10 days. It is not obligatory, except in one scenario in which someone would make a nadr to do i'tikaf. So back in the day, they'd say, oh, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, let's take the example of Umar radiallahu anhu. He made a nadr that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not Umar, one of the Sahaba, he made a nadr that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens Mecca for them, then he's going to do i'tikaf in Jerusalem, Masjid al-Aqsa. So in that case, it is obligatory. Now, when someone makes an oath or a nadr to do i'tikaf, it could be general. For example, if this happens, I'm going to do i'tikaf for 1 day, without specifying the day. Okay? Then they are allowed to do it any day of the year. Likewise, if they, for example, start doing it, and then in the middle or in the beginning or towards the end, they need to go or they don't want to continue, they're allowed to discontinue the i'tikaf. However, if someone were to make a note and say that I'm going to do i'tikaf, the 27th of Ramadan of this year. Very specific. The 27th of Ramadan of this year. Specific. In that case, they must fulfill it. They cannot discontinue it if they started it. And if they don't fulfill it, then if they don't fulfill it, then they need to pay expiation, kafarat yamin. Okay. Any questions so far?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
During the cup, do you talk to like your family, you call, bathroom,
The question is, during i'tikaf, are you allowed to call your family, talk to them? You are, and we'll get to the details inshallah shortly. Any other questions? No? Continue inshallah. Reasons in which, or that which nullifies i'tikaf, number one, to break your intention. To break your intention. So someone's sitting i'tikaf and they say, okay, I'm no longer doing i'tikaf. It's not just a thought that passes their mind. They said, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to discontinue and I'm going to leave. This breaks i'tikaf. Number two, leaving the masjid without reason, or without a specific reason which is accepted by the Sharia. So as you were saying, can you call? You can call. If you, for example, you can go back to take a shower, to your home to take a shower, to eat. If you need to use the bathroom and the bathrooms in the masjid aren't working or something like, or the water isn't running for some reason, you can go back home and make wudu. There's something that's happening in your family, you need to go solve real quickly, you can do that. Likewise, your work calls and there's an emergency, you have to leave and you can go. However, if you leave for, I'm just going to go hang out with my friends for an hour, right, and have some tea, then that breaks your i'tikaf. If you, for example, just want to work some extra hours, your boss calls and says, hey, if you'd like to take this, one of the guys called off, I'm calling the guys and seeing if anyone wants to take it. If you want to take it, you don't have to if you don't want to. There's nothing that harm. There's no harm that's going to come back to you. But if you want to, and you say yes, you're allowed to do that, but it does break your i'tikaf. You're not allowed to do that if, again, you made oath for that specific day. Okay? Now, when does someone actually exit the masjid? Is it just when they leave the front doors, for example? What is the masjid considered in the Sharia? The masjid is the actual building along with the parking lot, normally. Here in America, that's how it's built. So in order to leave the masjid, you'd actually have to leave the driveway over there. So if someone were to walk by right here on the sidewalk, right outside these windows, you're still in the masjid. If someone's in the playground in the backyard, you're still in the masjid. You leave the masjid once you're no longer on its property. Or for example, the Montessori next there, that's no longer the masjid. Now you have exited the masjid. And we said that if someone were to discontinue their i'tikaf, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no sin in it, unless you made a specific oath for that specific day. And they said, for example, this Ramadan, the 27th of this Ramadan, and then you didn't fulfill it. There's a kafarat yameen. There's a expiating that oath. If there's any questions, go ahead and ask. It's kafarat yameen, it'am 10 masakin. So you feed 10 poor people.
Sometimes the people will describe Hudud al-Masjid is where we will do sajda. That is the...
No, the masjid is more than that. Okay? This is the musalla. The masjid is all of what's in it.
So the outside boundary also considered.
The outside boundary.
One meal or just the whole day?
Just one meal. So today, for example, we are around $100 for those 10. That's the kafarat.
And then during i'tikaf, can the person allow that just get out from the room and just walk?
That's fine. You are allowed to walk around the masjid. You are allowed to go outside, so long as we don't cross the boundaries of the masjid. Any other questions? Okay.
Maybe any specific purpose for leaving the masjid, going out into the playground or something?
Maybe, for example, it's getting there are too many people, for example, in the musalla, each one's reading, you want a little bit more quiet place to go outside. You want a breath of fresh air. You want to go and talk to someone for a little bit, take a break from actual worship. We can't worship Allah. It's hard for us to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for 7 straight hours, and it's not expected from someone. And, they need to take that break. Or for example, for suhoor, they're going to have suhoor, eat before Fajr time. They have tables outside. That's fine.
But we don't get reward in really just worldly things. We mustn't take it.
You shouldn't. I mean, that's contrary to the i'tikaf, the purpose of i'tikaf.
Remembrance of Allah.
The remembrance, that's what one should be engaging in. But if someone does start talking about, some sort of trade they did or some cars or whatever, that doesn't break their i'tikaf, but it does reduce their reward, no doubt.
Matter of taqwa.
It's not a tough one. Any other questions? One is allowed to make a condition in their i'tikaf. So for example, they say, I'm going to do i'tikaf, but I put a condition that if there is a janazah that's going out, I'm going to go out with it. This is something that for example, if someone is sick, they say, I'm going to do i'tikaf, but I put a condition down that if I hear someone is sick, I'm going to go visit them. This is acceptable, it won't break i'tikaf, but you need to put that the condition when you make intention. So for example, a little bit more of a general way of putting this, I'm going to do i'tikaf, but I put a condition down that if there's any sort of sunnah that I can perform outside the masjid, I'm going to perform it. That's fine. Okay. However, if the condition is something that breaks i'tikaf, such as doing business outside the masjid, then, or for example saying I can leave anytime I want and come back anytime I want, then this isn't accepted. Another issue, which is really important, pay attention to this, is that when one makes i'tikaf, there is no masjid that's better than another masjid in terms of reward. Unless it's one of the 3 major masajid, Masjid al-Aqsa, or Masjid al-Nabawi, the Prophet's Mosque, or al-Kaaba, Mecca. These are the 3 ones that are better. So if one makes intention saying, I'm going to do i'tikaf in al-Aqsa, then they cannot do it in another masjid. If they made an oath, for example, I swear by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm going to do i'tikaf in al-Aqsa. They can't say, okay, I'm just going to do an OCIF. It doesn't work. You need to go to Aqsa. Right? We're talking theoretically here. No one makes that oath. It's too much and it's too big of a hassle. But just teaching. There is no, OCIF does not have more reward than Irvine. Irvine does not have more reward than Garden Grove. They're all the same. Unless it's one of these 3 masajid. So if someone makes an oath, I'm going to do i'tikaf for a day in OCIF, they're allowed to do an OCIF or other than OCIF, because it's the same in terms of reward. However, if they make an oath in one of the 3 masajid, the 3 ones I just spoke of, then they have to go to the actual masjid, or a masjid that's better than it. So for example, if someone made oath to do i'tikaf in al-Aqsa, and they're in al-Medina or in Mecca, they're allowed to do it in one of those 2 because they're better. If they make oath to do it in Medina, right, they can't do it in al-Aqsa, because al-Aqsa is lesser than al-Medina, but they are allowed to do it in Mecca. If they make an oath to do it in Mecca, then they have to do it in Mecca. There's no other masjid that is equivalent to it. So this is a very important issue. Make sure you understand it. There is no difference between OCIF and Irvine and Garden Grove and all the other masajid. They're all the same. However, if you want to go to, for example, Garden Grove, there's more people, they have better school, it's more organized, so be it. But there is no better or greater reward for going to one over the other. Any questions? No? Any question on anything in general? MashaAllah.
Can you talk some about istikhara?
Istikhara? Istikhara, as the Sahaba described it, the Prophet ﷺ taught them istikhara the way he teach them a chapter of the Quran, and how useful and beneficial it is. Istikhara, the Arabic word, is talab al-khar. is asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a choice. Okay? So when someone finds themselves not knowing, or between 2 or 3 or 4 options, whatever, numerous options, they don't know which one is better for them, then they pray istikhara. Now, one doesn't pray istikhara for doing something that's beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone wants to do umrah, you don't make istikhara to do umrah. Umrah is something beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you can afford it and you can do it, then do it. You don't need to make istikhara. Istikhara works in something, for example, should I take this job or that job? I don't know which one is better. There are 2 things you need to do. Number 1, do the research. Ask people. Go to the actual businesses and ask the employees. You have a responsibility in finding out yourself. But even when you do that, you still might feel, okay, there are good pros and cons in both. I don't know the future. So when you make istikhara, you're really asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who knows the unseen, who knows the future, who knows what's best for you, to make that decision and show you a way. Okay? So again, istikhara is made when you are between options, you don't know which one is better. You need to take the responsibility in doing the research. And number 2, after that, you make istikhara. You pray istikhara, you pray 2 rak'ahs outside the faridah. Okay, you pray 2 separate rak'ahs. At the end, you do the dua. You can find the dua online, so memorize it. I strongly recommend memorizing it. You know, prayer of istikhara. You can write in English, it'll come up. Now, when exactly you make istikhara, there is no hadith or any sort of evidence which clarifies that. So if you were to make istikhara, some say during prostration. While you're prostrating, make that dua, because the closest one is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is during prostration. Others say after the tashahhud. You're doing tashahhud, you finish all of it, Allahumma salli Muhammad, you do it, and then you make the dua while you're doing tashahhud, right? Because there is a hadith that Prophet ﷺ says after you do the tashahhud, then ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what you want, and it's considered one of the areas of prayer which dua is accepted. And others say that it's after prayer. You just raise your hands up and you make dua. I personally do it after tashahhud because of the hadith which says that it's supplications are accepted after or during that short period. After you do that, after you have taken the proper means and measures of research and you looked at the scenarios, and you made istikhara, then what happens is you don't see a sign. You could see a sign, but normally what happens is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala paves the way for you. Certain things happen. You might find out, you know, the boss from corporation number 2 calls you and says, you know what, I'm sorry, we're going to have to cancel our offer. Something like that. So now you only have one option. That's what happens. Or you might feel in your heart that, you know what, this seems better for me. There's a way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala paves the path for you. It could be a sign, it could be a feeling in the heart, or it could be just certain events happening that lead you to one way over the other. Now after this has become clear, it is still your responsibility to put the efforts to make that choice the better choice. What happens a lot of times is that when someone gets married, they pray istikhara. And unfortunately, this is the only time people tend to pray istikhara, when it's marriage. You should pray istikhara when you choose a job, when you choose a university, when you want to go on a vacation, a recreational vacation, right, with your family. When you want to make a habit of praying istikhara. Really, it makes your lives easier. And it's one of the greatest blessings which Islam gave us. What better tool do you want than having Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose for you what's best for you? There is nothing better than that. Just give me 1 second so I can finish. So what happens is that they pray istikhara before they get married, and then they get divorced a little bit after. Then they say, oh, I prayed istikhara, why didn't it work? Well, did you put the proper efforts in actually making your marriage work? What istikhara does is help you make a choice. Like I said, your responsibility to keep that a good option for you.
Do you dream something?
You could dream something.
You could?
You could.
It's
But
possible?
it's possible, but it's not conditional. You don't have to see a dream.
So if you dream, you follow that dream, right?
dreams are something which the Prophet ﷺ spoke about, which are, this isn't something we can deny. It happens so often, and I'm sure all of us have had a dream which has come true, right? But dreams are, you can say, recommendations. They're not, you have to do this, or you should do this. It could even be you should do this, but it's not you have to, this is 100%. Because in order to understand a dream, you need someone to actually explain it to you. There's people, and it's very hard for someone to get it 100% right. Even Abu Bakr, when he tried interpreting a dream in front of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ told him, you're right in a part of it and you're wrong in a part of it. And that's Abu Bakr. Okay, these are guidelines, they are pointers, recommendations. They help, kind of give you a picture, warn you of something coming, give you glad tidings of your actions, right? They encourage you, they kind of, many reasons, but you still need to take the means of actually finding out what's right. Because that person who interprets it could get it wrong. Understand? So it is possible to see a dream, but at the same time, it's just a guideline. It's just something to, a recommendation. It's not something you should just take for granted and say, okay, this, and that's it.
So basically a dream would have to be interpreted by an alim.
Someone who, not necessarily an alim,
Somebody who knows.
someone who, subhanAllah, this is a gift Allah gives to certain people. Right? Knowledge does help, but it's not conditional to knowledge.
For example, you were married somebody who was Istikhara, that they saw roses. Apparently the person would be very good. But with roses come thorns. So the person who made the interpretation was really well versed in these things. And the person told that it will be good marriage, but there will be a lot of ups and downs and difficulties. And that turned out to be very, very true.
Right. That's a very good interpretation. So the brother was sharing, uncle was sharing with us that he knows an individual who, before getting married, made istikhara and saw a dream that there were roses. So it was interpreted that roses are very beautiful and they're nice, but roses have thorns on them too. So the interpretation was that you'll have a good marriage, but there's going to be a lot of ups and downs and difficulties. It's a very good explanation. Go ahead.
When you say after the tashahhud, after the Salat Ibrahimiyya, so before the end of the Salat?
Before the end of the Salat. Right, so if someone wanted to do the dua after tashahhud, you'd say a tahiyyat, you say the Salat Ibrahimiyya, the Abrahamic prayer, and then after that, if you know the final 4 words, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr wa adhab jahannam, fitnat al-mahya wal mamat, fitnat al-masih ad-dajjal. After that, you can say Allahumma inni astakhiruka bi'ilmika till the end of the supplication. Go ahead.
When people die and their family cry for 2 days, 3 days, is that the right way, or they're not supposed to cry? Or crying is the right or not?
If crying is based on emotion, that's fine. These are emotions. Even after the 3 days, even after the, for example, the 4 months and 10 days period for the wife, that's fine. This is an emotion. But what the Sharia is denying is to over-exaggerate. You get 3 days to feel that sorrow and to let sorrow take over you. But after that, you got to get back on track. Don't let sorrow consume you, because you will fall into depression. So it's protecting you in one way. But if every now and then, I mean, I've seen my own, for example, father and uncles, when they remember their father who passed away 30 years now, sometimes tears come to their eyes. It's very normal. It's a human attribute, human emotion. But what the Sharia is denying is, number one, some customs, they make it an effort that we come together just to cry. Okay, you get 3 days for that. But again, don't over-exaggerate. And Arabs, Bedouins do this a lot. That they'll get, it's like doing you a favor. I'm gonna come, you're just my friend. I don't know the one who passed away. I'm just gonna come and cry with you. And they start saying, ooh, and they're making these noises and, pulling their hair. This is something forbidden in Islam. Okay, however, normal emotional crying, that's fine, even after the 3 days. But getting together, doing it in a group setting, then you have 3 days, so long as you don't over-exaggerate that. Is that good?
That must not be made a ritual.
Right, it's not, it shouldn't be a ritual. It's actually a major sin. Any other questions? One final question? One final question?
So otherwise it means if the person should not do, I can say like absolutely not, if a person is ready to go to Hajj, he's not going to do the istikhara for that.
So the question is, if someone wants to perform Hajj, then there's no need to perform an istikhara, right? Right. Now if you want to make istikhara, should I go with this group or that group? You should do that. Because some groups are just messy. Some groups, you have the one person who makes it hard for everyone else. So when picking between groups, make istikhara. But actually doing Hajj, there's no istikhara in that, but that's obligatory on you. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.